What's up, guys? How you doing out there? This is Micah Dobbins, host of the Micah Dobbins Show, powered by Misfits of Media. And I'm really looking forward to having a great show with you guys tonight. We're going to be talking about a couple of things, changes with Amazon's leadership. We're going to talk about a new stimulus check, if it's coming, are we getting another one or not, and a couple of other goodies. So I hope you guys stay tuned for this episode. All right, guys, so with the opening story, we're going to go ahead and break in and talk about Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos. He's going to formally step down from being the CEO July 5th. He announced this Wednesday at the company's annual shareholders meeting, which shouldn't come to a shock. They did mention back in February that he was going to leave his post at some point. But it says that Andy Jassy, Amazon's cloud computing boss, will take over Bezos' roles. And once he steps down, he will transition into an executive chairman of Amazon's board. Jeff Bezos picked this date in particular. He said that it was a reason why he chose that date, and I just want to share with you guys. I'm going to quote, he said, "We chose that date because it's sentimental for me. The day Amazon was incorporated in 1994, exactly 27 years ago." So he said that it was pretty much a big deal to him. This was a virtual meeting that he had, and Bezos is looking to focus in other areas to work on more upward initiatives within Amazon's infrastructure. He has the Bezos Earth Fund, his Blue Origin spaceship company, the Washington Post, and Amazon Day One Fund, which he said he's going to pretty much focus on those things. And for you guys who are entrepreneurs out there, business owners out there, you just got to imagine how big of a deal this is. He basically grew Amazon out of his garage. The company originally was started selling books, and he actually wanted to call it Cadabra for the term abracadabra originally, but decided to go with Amazon. And interesting enough, when he made this decision, put in a lot of work, hard, just to make Amazon the juggernaut, the monster that it is today. A lot of people hate on people's success sometimes. They get envious. They say ill things about people who are able to overcome the odds. But when you look at what Jeff Bezos has done, and you look at how much money that Amazon has generated in that short amount of time, 27 years, it sounds like a long time, but when you see the growth of that company and the amount of warehousing and the amount of staffing and all of the things that take place. I was looking at an article, and it was interesting because they were saying Amazon had like 6,000 dogs that they hired to work there. It's a very pet-friendly organization. And when you look over the different facts of what they've done, from buying wholesale foods to getting into the pharmaceutical game, starting out selling books to selling just about typically almost everything digitally, online pretty much. Amazon really had a solid run. And will continue to. I don't expect them to go anywhere under Andy Jassy's new leadership. I don't see the company failing anytime soon. I think last time I looked at the trading stocks, it's like 3,000 and something a share. So Amazon's going to be here for quite a while. You get used to it. But, just wanted to get you guys that information for my entrepreneurs out there. Always trying to keep you guys on the cutting edge of information when it comes to business and things like this. And this is also going to be for the Micah Dobbins Show podcast. But wanted to address it on the show today and, let everybody know that it's going to be a different Amazon probably, because Jeff's going to be gone. And it's just like when you look at Apple, Apple changed a lot, since things have changed over there. So we'll just see how this plays out. But I want to go ahead and give you guys that story that broke this week. What's up, guys? How you doing? This is Micah Dobbins, host of the Micah Dobbins Show. And I want to thank you for checking this program out. You can download the Misfits of Media app on your cell phone. You're able to watch it on Fire Stick, Amazon TV, and Roku. Be sure that you tune in so that you can keep up with my show that is put up there weekly, as well as other movies, television shows, and other programming. Make sure that you tell all your friends, visit their social media platforms, and spread the word about Misfits of Media. In other news, while we're speaking about the economic front, we need to go ahead and talk about this job market situation. So right now we have heard by the latest White House update that, they're saying that unemployment is going down a little bit. And I think part of it in Georgia has been the announcement that Governor Brian Kemp made that he plans on shutting down the unemployment benefits from the federal government. They actually want to take that money and try to incentivize it and make bonuses for people to go back to work. Not sure how this is going to work. We're going to play it by ear and see what happens, but don't shoot the messenger. I'm just passing the information along. But right now, the big question is, will there be another stimulus check? And I'm going to read this. This was taken from Yahoo Finance. It said, it's been more than 2 months since the third round of COVID stimulus checks began hitting Americans' bank accounts. For many U.S. households still having trouble to pay the bills because of the pandemic, that $1,400 payment is probably long gone. Millions of everyday Americans and a growing number of influential lawmakers say the government needs to continue providing direct relief until the crisis is no longer squeezing the economy. Though the housing market is booming and some other economic numbers are looking up, unemployment rose last month and retail sales slowed. So this is interesting because, like I said, just this week they announced that the unemployment went down slightly. According to the report with Yahoo News, they said that last month unemployment rose and that retails have slowed down, meaning people aren't purchasing as much. We know this weekend is Memorial Day weekend, so we'll see how the economy does financially. They're saying more people are traveling now than they have. The numbers are getting back to pre-pandemic numbers. But I think it's because people are just tired. They have cabin fever and they want to get out and, see family and do things. And as more people are getting vaccinated and more people are exercising their freedoms now that a lot of states have released some of the mandates and different things, I could see people traveling for that reason. But it doesn't necessarily mean that we're back to where we should be financially, economically. And there's two sides to this, basically. You do have a lot of the Democratic Party saying, hey, look, people out here are still hurting. People out here still have needs. And there are, no doubt, there are people that are still struggling throughout this. Even my personal business took a hit, and we've been trying to recover since then. But I will say that, yes, this is the case. And then, of course, there are also those in the Republican Party saying, well, eventually we got to cut the faucet off. We can't just keep giving away money. Somebody's got to pay for this one day. We're going to have to get this balance fixed. And it's just funny to me because the people are the ones right now that are suffering. The people are the ones who need the support. And I definitely think my heart is with the people, that we need to find solutions. We need to find ways to turn the ship around to help those. There are some that I know personally that have struggled to pay their rent or their mortgage, and they've been behind. And with this moratoriums ending, some of them may face eviction. We feed the homeless monthly. The church that I go to, shout out to Church of God Mission. And I know when we went this past month, there were more numbers than where they've been previously. We were called and told that the numbers have gone up. So we do see signs that there are still struggles out there. There are still people that are going through because of the pandemic. And it's nobody's fault as far as, the American people. You can't blame the people for what happened to the economy and all these things. We just need to try to help them and try to fix it. So the White House says stimulus checks are not free and that it's up to Congress to decide whether to pay out more of them. Will House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and her fellow lawmakers give you a fourth stimulus check? So here's what we know so far. More citizens and lawmakers are pressing for a stimulus check. It said many Americans are eager for a fourth stimulus check. And I believe that. I talk to people all the time. And, I know that we have to pay for it, but a lot of people really need the money right now. It says when you look at the search traffic for the term fourth stimulus check, it remains high, according to Google Trends. And signatures continue to grow on an online petition pleading for more relief. More than 2.2 million people have now added their names. The Change.org petition asks Congress to support families with a $2,000 payment for adults and a $1,000 payment for kids immediately, and continuing regular checks for the duration of the crisis. This is a lot. It's a lot. I'm not going to say it's not. But I do recognize, as I stated, the people need the help. The latest pitch from lawmakers themselves. 7 members of the powerful House of Ways and Means Committee have sent a letter to President Joe Biden urging him to include direct payments in his new $1.8 trillion proposal to provide helps to families. Lawmakers say that the last $1,400 check was not enough to get the households through the year. A fourth and a fifth check, they argue, could keep an additional 12 million people out of poverty. The pandemic has served a stark reminder that families and workers need certainty in a crisis, says the letter signed last week. They deserve to know they can put food on the tables and keep a roof over their heads. So these statements are things that are true. People do need help. It says data from the U.S. Census Bureau shows a majority of stimulus money is still being spent on basic necessities, including food, rent, mortgage payments, and utilities. And even Clark Howard shared that a lot of people have been paying down their credit card debt, because they realize that they're in a pinch. They realize that they may not have, a steady income from these 9-to-5s, and at least they want to get out of debt. Should they get evicted? Should they go through? Because it's going to get rough for people in the near future. It says, and while some people have used their cash to invest in the sizzling stock market, others have bought non-essential but necessary things like clothing and affordable life insurance. Demand for those policies have surged during the pandemic. A lot of people are afraid if they get COVID, if they die, what's going to happen to my family? So obviously they're trying to get life insurance. It says at the same time, a new report reveals that more than 1 million stimulus checks have gone unspent. And there was a lot of that money actually in California. Now, mind you, California had been on lockdown. They were one of the last states to release a lot of their lockdown methods and rules. But they were saying pretty much that there was a lot of money that wasn't spent. And the IRS data obtained by the Boston Herald shows 1.24 million checks from last year's very first coronavirus aid package were never cashed. So that's a problem. There are some of those people who haven't cashed the checks. So it kind of makes people feel like, well, maybe folks aren't hurting as bad as they claim. But I think that's foolish when you look at what's going on right now. Now, on the flip side, in the job market, there are companies that are struggling to hire people right now. There are companies saying people aren't coming back and they have openings right now. And I think some of that has to do with the type of jobs in some circumstances. Some jobs, you're talking about fast food and things of that. If you were working, at a bank, or you were working, in the financial institutions or in, corporate America, it would be insane to expect you to jump at a job selling wings at a wing stand or at McDonald's. I'm not saying people can't start over or that people shouldn't do what they need to do to take care of their families, but I'm saying that it would be insane if I'm getting unemployment and I was working at a job to pay $85,000, $75,000 a year, $100,000 a year, to expect me to settle for a $40,000, $30,000, $25,000 a year job. Even with some of these fast food restaurants offering $12 an hour, which is pretty good in Georgia, being that our minimum wage, we stick with the federal, the $7.25 down here. So there are some benefits to that, but I think it would be highly illogical to expect people to just jump and put their lives at risk on top of that, because a lot of people are still afraid if they haven't been vaccinated. I think the state of Georgia right now, we've reached somewhere around like 30-something% of Georgians that have been vaccinated. So a lot of them still haven't even gone through that process. They're not going to be quick to jump out of the job and perhaps catch this virus. And this is just something that, we're going to be dealing with for some time now. So I think they need to kind of go ahead and give whatever they can to help the American people till we can get back on our feet and do what we need to do. So it says, given the cost of the more recent stimulus checks faced resistance from both Republicans and Democrats when Biden's pandemic rescue bill was debated in March. Both sides of the parties are having issues because they're saying that, look, eventually we're going to have to pay for this stuff. These checks aren't free, people. But yet and still, the American people, they need the help, guys. They really need the help. And this is because Democrats control the House and the Senate by the thinnest of margins. Eligibility for the payments had to be targeted away from higher earners to keep moderate Senate Democrats in the fold. If the new round of stimulus checks were to face a simple majority votes in Congress, which is possible under the arcane budget process used at the last COVID relief bill, there's no guarantee of passage. Still, congressional Democrats have been calling for recurring stimulus payments during the pandemic since earlier this year. And it says in March, more than 20 Democratic senators signed a similar letter. So far, there's been little response from Democratic leadership. Speaker Pelosi this month said the passing of Biden's infrastructure and families plans was the urgent priority. She said nothing about adding recurring payments or just a fourth stimulus check to either proposal. So basically right now, much of the leadership haven't stated what they plan to do. And the people are watching. They're waiting. As I mentioned, There was a petition on change.org where millions of signatures have already been signed and more, adding to that, as well as some lawmakers. So we'll follow this and let you guys know where it goes, as with other things, but hopefully we'll be hearing something soon. What's up, guys? How you doing? This is Micah Dobbins, host of the Micah Dobbins Show, and this show is brought to you by none other than Tees of Faith 316. When I go out and about sometimes and I'm rocking my Tees of Faith gear, people usually read the statements on my shirts and ask me, where did I get them from? So now you guys too can order your own shirts from Tees of Faith, even the official clothing of the Micah Dobbins Show. This right now is one of my favorite hoodies, Thou Shalt Not Steal, still relevant, representing for Tees of Faith 316. All right, with that being said, guys, another thing I wanted to share, I'm really excited about this Monday, this Memorial Day, for a variety of reasons. I do come from a patriotic family. My father was in the military. My grandfather on both sides were in the military. Brothers, brother-in-law, many family members. I myself even jumped in the ROTC thinking I would join the military. So obviously Memorial Day, Veterans Day, and these holidays do hold a special place in my heart. But this year it fell on a special day for dual reasons. May 31st is actually me and my wife Mika's anniversary. So I'm really excited about celebrating 19 years of marriage. Many young people don't understand how important it is for you to communicate in a marriage and how much work it takes to make a marriage work. And being that we've been married now that many years with 6 children all together, all since being married, I'm really proud of that, and I'm happy to share that we married young. I think I was 24. Mika was 23 when we got married, so we were pretty young, and I'm really excited at the fact that we've reached this milestone. I look forward to being able to say, hey, we've been married 20 years and 25 and 30 and 40 and maybe even 50. Should we live that long? I'm really excited about just marriage in general. And I wanted to share a couple of things with you guys. I think you guys should be excited about marriage as well. There are benefits to being married, obviously. We have tax benefits and other things. And should you decide that you want to be with somebody and you guys decide to move in, live together before you get married, the thing you have to remember is you don't have any rights if that person dies or vice versa. Their parents actually have more rights over the body and things of that nature, and the state usually can step in. You won't be able to access, bank account or anything like that because you're not married. So, there are benefits to being married, and I'm proud to be married. I don't take it lightly being married. I thank God for our marriage. I thank God for our children. And I want to share a couple of advice or some tips that can help you. These tips came, from different findings from the Gospel Coalition. But one thing it said is marriage is worth the investment. It's worth investing into another human being, someone that you can share your life with. It is very much worth investing. It is something that should be taken serious. You don't want to just do this haphazardly or do this, at the fly of the moment. I know there's a lot of shows out. It's like, oh, marry a stranger. Oh, just run off to Vegas, get married. These are idiotic. Please don't fall for these things because marriage is serious and it is worth the investment. Tip number 2 is you have to invest in a marriage for it to be worth the investment. It makes no sense for you to get married just for status sake and then to run around and cheat on your partner, or for them to be cheating on you, or just, to get married just so you can say, oh, look, this is my trophy wife, this is my trophy husband, we have the perfect life. You have to understand it. You have to invest in it for the investment to be worth it. And you get what you put into it. Whatever you put into it, that's what's coming out of it. So you got to communicate with each other. There are certain sayings people say. They say that women marry men hoping to change them, and men marry women hoping they don't never change, but it doesn't quite work like that. Sometimes having children will change the women. And if he loves sports or things before, he may not ever change, sister. He may love sports the rest of his life. He's got to kind of deal with that thing, or, whatever the case may be. But for the most part, you want to make sure that you're investing in each other and spending quality time, even if you have to have a date night or an escape every now and then. That's something that I wish we did more, actually. We got to get on top of that. All right, number 3, choosing your marriage partner is one of the most important human decisions you will ever make. And I cannot agree more. If you don't have a basic idea of what you want in a spouse and they don't know what they want, I wouldn't recommend you rushing off getting married. I don't care how much you say you love each other, because there are things that you both need to agree on. How you're going to raise your children, whether you're going to, homeschool, put them in traditional school, private school. As far as your faith, are you going to raise them practicing Christianity or whatever other religion you out there trying to be a part of? All of this is very important, and it's going to affect your children. It's going to affect your life. It's going to affect your stress levels. It's going to affect your health. So choosing your marriage partner is one of the most important human decisions you're ever going to make. Most fights are over stupid things that don't matter. And I can tell you early on, you're going to recognize this if you're into your marriage and you're investing in your marriage, that there's no point in majoring in minors and minoring in majors. Every fight, you got to pick your battles wisely. Some things are not even worth arguing over. So don't fight over stupid things. Let those things go. Number 5, most arguments are resolved when both people are more concerned with being in a relationship than being right. And this is true. It's not always about winning and me versus you. You need to look at it like you're a team. You're a unit working together. And when you have an argument, you need to try to find a win-win in the situation. How is it that, we can come to an agreement and both be on one accord? So, that's one thing. Number 6, sex is essential to a marriage relationship. I cannot stress this enough. There are those who try to make light of it. Maybe it's a shameful thing to talk about, but yeah, sex is very important in a marriage, okay? Traveling and being gone from each other for long spurts at a time, I personally just don't care for it. I think that, couples should come together as frequently as possible, and you should really have a healthy sex life as a married couple. Tip number 7. Practices like date nights, long conversations, trips together make your marriage stronger. Having that common ground or that common interest, developing a friendship within your marriage and being able to come to each other with everything is very important. I will say this, that it's best for you to speak to each other and learn each other and know each other and try to grow together. And then when you're married, you need to continue those practices. You shouldn't badmouth your spouse to other people, because the chances are they're gonna still have an attitude with your spouse while you guys are back in love and just as happy. But that cousin, that sister, that brother, that girlfriend, that homeboy, they're still looking at them sideways and upset with them and quick to throw in your face what they did to you if you do not have that common trust together when it comes to those issues. However, this does not mean for abuse. If someone is abusive, if they are beating or threatening you or violence is occurring, by all means, go to other people. Do not keep that between each other. But if there are misunderstandings, maybe your feelings was hurt because they didn't compliment you on your outfit, or maybe, his feelings was hurt because, she didn't get super excited when he presented her with a gift. These little minor things are not something you want to go back and forth sharing with people. All right. Another thing, kids are awesome, but they can stress your marriage. That's tip number 8. Yes, kids are great, but they can become stressful if you do not communicate with each other. We have a good communication in our household. We pretty much decided before we had kids that if they ask me or ask her, our reply is, what did your mom say? What did your dad say? Don't try to play both against the middle. And kids are pretty good at that. Not all, but a lot of kids are pretty good at, oh, mama said no, just ask dad next time, he'll say yes. So you want to make sure that, you don't allow your children to come between you and stress your marriage. You love your children and you let them know that, hey, listen, me and your mommy or me and your daddy on one accord, we're not having it, but we love you, and, work these things out. And tip number 9, never go to bed angry. Yes, I cannot stress this enough. Biblically, it tells you don't let the sun go down upon your wrath, but you don't want to go to bed upset. And being angry at one another and going to bed is one of the worst things you could do in your marriage, because chances are you're going to get up with the attitude. You're going to be reminded of all the things that happened the night before are going to come back in your mind. I don't even believe in the whole couch thing. Go sleep in the couch. Go sleep in the doghouse. Man, whatever. We sleep in this bed together. You on one side, me on the other. We're not going to bed angry. We just, we're going to work this out. And I think it's very good to practice these things. And I'm going to go ahead and throw another tip in there because that's just 9 that they gave. But I'm going to say, making sure that you keep God first. Was a study done, and it said that couples that shared a common faith, if you're basically following into your faith of Christianity, you're more likely to stay married than if you're not. I know people like to throw the statistic that the church and the divorce rate is 50-50, that it's even, and it's just as many Christians getting divorced as there are people that are non-Christian or secularist or whatever the case may be. But if you actually look at the sample pool of those studies, the people that are claiming the term Christian or saying that are considered, like, I guess, nominal Christians, they're not actively engaged in their faith. They're not actively linked to a church. They're not actually helping. So when you actually look at the statistics, those who are active in their church, those who are actively attending and, actively, doing things and practicing their faiths are less likely to divorce than those who are just claiming the title Christian. So I wanted to kind of throw that in there so that we get some clarity on those statistics. All right, so those were just my tips. I wanted to share that because I'm really ecstatic and excited. And for my wife, if you're watching, babe, happy anniversary. Love you very much. All right. All right, and for our last story, we want to talk a little bit about the latest carjackings in Atlanta. Not even carjackings, just cars being stolen. Okay, so that we can have an understanding, a carjacking is when somebody puts a gun in your face and takes your car. Or if you get drug out or punched out or whatever, that's a carjacking. If you left your keys in your car and somebody took it, your car was stolen. And this recently happened in Atlanta. In a couple of cases, you had Tennessee Titans Jordanus Jenkins, who said his Rolls Royce was stolen from an Atlanta parking lot here at the airport. And they say there was a lot of fuss made about this. And it's funny because this story not only came out, but also this week, Akon, shout out to his brother Boo and Omar and the rest of the fam. Muhammad, how y'all boys doing? But yeah, Akon's car also was stolen from a Quick Trip, a Rolls Royce. And if you guys know anything about Atlanta, this has been a reoccurring thing. I mean, Tyrese, his truck got stolen off his house, from front of his house. He left a key fob in there. Ludacris got his Mercedes stolen while going to an ATM in Buckhead, I think back in like January or something like that. So this is a reoccurring thing. I want to kind of talk about it a little bit on the show. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but I did want to kind of give you guys some insight as to why these things are happening. Okay. So there are many out there that have been hard, on the city right now because the crime rate is through the roof. We got shootings in Lenox and Phipps Plaza, all these crazy things going on that normally wouldn't happen in the 90s. But you got to remember that right now people are broke, people are hurting. There is a real struggle going on out there. And there's also these crimes of opportunity. There's these people that will leave a car running, and a thief sees that, they're gonna shoot their shot, man. They're gonna try to take your car. You can't forget where you come from. I remember, being young and running in the streets, and I remember how easy and how quick it was. If you see the little red light blinking in the car, you knew that meant that they had the alarm set. If the red light wasn't blinking, they pop in the doors, they looking to see if you got guns or anything in there. So jewelry, you know what I mean? I went to alternative school, so I know these things. So guys, be wise. When you go to a gas station, lock your door. I don't care if you're just getting out and just pumping gas, lock the door. That alone is a big tip because the sliders where the guys are actually reaching into your window or coming in on your passenger side when you're not looking or climbing in through your back seat, it'll save you a lot of grief. Another thing you can do, don't leave valuables in your car. It's not wise to leave your gun, your watch, your cell phone, your laptop, your computer, your Gucci bag, whatever you're carrying. It's just not a good idea to leave that stuff in your car. Even if it's in the parking lot of the shopping mall, bro, take it with you. You know what I mean? Leave it at home, even better. Don't think putting it in the trunk is a safe place. I'm sorry. I hear people all the time, well, I put it in the trunk. No, they'll break in their trunk. You know what I mean? They know that's where you're putting your stuff at. And start being more aware of your surroundings. Yes, Atlanta does have a slight crime problem right now going on. I believe some of the answers is to find programs for these young people to get them off the streets and get them into something tangible that can help them with their future. Also, we do need the police. We need to stop saying that, I know people screaming defund the police. And yes, there are bad cops that need to be fired. They need to be prosecuted, disciplined. But there are a lot of good cops that really do a good job. And we need to acknowledge and weed out the bad ones and take care of the good ones because the law is needed. It's necessary, especially with the way the city is moving right now. You got people shooting across highways like it ain't nothing. And guys, this is not what Atlanta is really about. It's time that we really turn the tide on that. So sorry to hear about these guys getting, carjacked. I do know that, like I stated earlier, that if you've ever been in the streets, to watch your back, to watch out. Don't leave your car running. Don't leave your car unlocked. Definitely, you see people, just kind of sitting around doing nothing, bro. They up to something. They're not out there just for their health benefit. They're looking for a come up. So you need to make sure you're protecting yourself by locking your vehicle when you leave it, and making sure you're not leaving any valuables or anything visible in your car for people to see, because that is a dead giveaway for them to try to break in. All right, just want to share that a little bit with you guys.